Good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, June 22nd, and I am on the lake with Jax in a kayak. And it's a beautiful, beautiful morning. And it feels so great to feel up to being out here again. The past week has been a week of recovery for me, so it's great to be out. And I wanted to share it with you. So instead of walking, we're gonna float and paddle. I decided to take out, Mia and I bought a new, just a inflatable kayak because we thought, we have kayaks, but we thought it would be good to have like a inflatable kayak to keep around in case, we want to someday have company and invite people to go out with us. And then we have an extra one, and it's much easier to store. So I thought, well, I should, you know what, I'm gonna give that kayak a test run. Should be no big deal. It'll be easy. So I drove down here towards the lake. I laid it out in the parking lot, and the kayak came with a hand pump. And I thought, oh gosh, no, I'm not gonna use a hand pump. That'll be too hard. I'm gonna use my fancy electric pump. It's just so much easier. So I plugged in the electric pump and started pumping, and it just was taking forever, and it wasn't quite working. It was really getting frustrated. I had a moment of panic, like, oh my gosh, am I totally in over my head on this? It shouldn't be this hard. And then I finally decided, let me just get that hand pump out. So I got out the hand and it took 2 seconds. It was easy. It worked so well because it was actually designed to pump up this kayak. And it took a little more physical effort for me, but it wasn't unbearable. It wasn't unmanageable. It wasn't undoable. And I thought, boy, that's a good lesson relearned. Sometimes we just want to take shortcuts, and the shortcuts aren't really shortcuts. And they aren't the best way. And they don't produce the best results, always. So this morning I've been here in my kayak on this beautiful, beautiful morning. I've been reflecting on Jeremiah 28, verses 5 through 9. It's actually the lectionary reading for this coming Sunday. And I won't be preaching. Sandy Messick will. But I just thought I'd take a few minutes to offer you some of my reflections on Jeremiah. Maybe it might help with your week. Because I've been thinking about, how do we really turn from despair to hope? How do we get to hope? And I know so many people are hungering for that. Let's hear some hope. And I see tons of hope in this world right now. I know we're in the middle of a lot of chaos and a lot of difficult times, and it's scary. There's a lot of fear, and it's hard to turn on the news and to read the news reports about COVID, the pandemic. It's hard to hear and see the kinds of violence that we're seeing around racism. It's hard to see and hear the pain and suffering of so many people. Where is hope? So in Jeremiah, Jeremiah is a prophet, and he's really been called he is called to prophesy to the king of Israel. Really, he has a big problem with temple worship, and with not so much the temple worship, but what temple worship has become as a state, what we might call a state-sanctioned religion, right? Royal religion. And he actually thinks that what the Israelites have done and the king of Israel has led them to do is to become more interested in things, the ritual of gold and silver and sacrifice and sort of this what we might think high, I don't want to say high church, but like they're more invested in all of that, in keeping the temple alive and worshiping the temple rather than remembering and living the covenants with God. So in other words, they're not taking care of the poor and the needy. They're not remembering the orphans and the widows. They're not living up to the covenants of justice that are really, really important and strong and prevalent in the law, the Torah. So Jeremiah, he's confronting the king all the time. So Babylon has attacked Jerusalem. They've taken a really big hit. And it's really the city, the people, they're just really distraught. They don't know what to make of it. They don't know what to do. The king of Israel, they're all trying to decide what to do. Babylon is one of the most powerful forces in the known world at that time. It was like the empire of the day. King Nebuchadnezzar, very powerful, conquering, and so they don't know what to do. What do they do? And in verses 5 through 9 it's actually in the NRSV version of the Bible. It's subtitled "A False Prophet," and I think that's unfortunate. Really, it leads us to believe that it's a really simple case of here's this prophet Hananiah standing before the king, and the prophet Jeremiah standing before the king. And Hananiah is really, his prophecy is, let's fight Babylon. We will conquer them in 2 years. God will be with us. We will break them. We will be powerful. And it's a very inspiring, very popular, you can imagine, belief. That's what people want to hear, and that's what they want to believe. And so, yeah, everybody's kind of getting behind it, the king and the court, everybody, like that makes sense. Let's go fight back. Let's conquer Babylon. But then here's Jeremiah saying, no, that's not the way. That isn't the way. The way is peace. And what we need to do right now, and what God is really asking us to do right now, is to just wait. To accept and live with the circumstance that we're in right now. I don't like this, he says. I don't like it. But we have to kind of wait. We have to wait. That there is hope. The hope is in that God will be with us in the waiting. And there are sacrifices that will come with it. Yeah, we will be under Babylonian rule, but in the long run, down the road, years from now, all will change. God is working in ways that we don't even know. And so wait, don't add violence to violence. Let's wait. So the question is the prophet Hananiah really a false prophet? Which prophet's speaking really from God? Is Hananiah really not speaking from God? Or is Hananiah convinced himself that this would be a really godly thing to do? It's too easy to just decide he's bad, because he's probably quite genuine. And because, here's the thing. Sometimes the most prophetic thing we can do, the most powerful thing that we can do is to wait, to accept. And sometimes what we got to do is fight. And the trick is knowing when that time is. And usually it's time that tells. We know from history, and we know from the stories, the Old Testament, that Jeremiah actually was being instructed by God, right? That was the right thing to do. By the way, they don't do that. They get conquered anyway. They fight back. They lose a lot of people. They get conquered. The temple is destroyed, and Babylon is in power and people are exiled. Where what Jeremiah had said and hoped for is, we don't have to do that. We don't have to be exiled. We don't have to be destroyed. We can maybe find a way to live with. But today, we have a situation happening in our country where it feels more like this is the time. This is the time. We've been waiting long enough. I think about James Baldwin's, the black poet and activist, brilliant James Baldwin, who said so eloquently, when told back in the 60s, this is back in the 60s, when he was told, you know, you just have to be patient. You just have to wait. Wait for racism to end. Wait for justice to come. You just got to be patient. White people can't change that fast. And he said, you know, I'm paraphrasing, my grandfathers had to wait. My great-great-grandfathers had to wait. My fathers had to wait. My uncles and my brothers and my sisters and my aunts, we've all suffered and been told time and time again to wait. How long do you think we should wait for justice? I was in the 60s, and here we are, 2020, and we are still waiting. And you know, the time has come. The time has come that we don't just accept. We don't just accept that racism is okay, that injustice in our world is okay. The time has come. I think God is speaking clearly. The time has come to change, actively seeking to change. And that gives me such great hope, because I look into the world and I see change happening. I do. I see people having conversations who weren't having conversations before. People thinking about racism. White people, black people, people of all colors, all ages, thinking about it, talking about it. That's great hope. I see white people rising up. I mean, there's a lot of ugliness. There's a lot of white supremacy groups out there too. But more importantly, white people who care and really truly want change are rising up to walk with, partner with, and work with people of color so that we can create systemic change. We can create God's realm here and now. It is happening. It is happening. So, Hananiah, a false prophet, or just a genuine prophet who really, really wanted so badly? He was so hungry to give people hope that he gave them what they wanted to hear rather than what they needed to hear. That happens. Let's not be that in this time and place. Let's not just speak what people want to hear. Let's start living the gospel, living the good news, and trusting that God will open ears and open hearts so that what is heard, needed to be heard, is heard. I hope you'll join me. It's the difference between trying to just use the electric pump or the hand pump. It's time for the hand pump. The payoff is well worth it.